Eagle Nation, welcome into another edition of Eagles in Their Nest, catching up with current and former student athletes, and in this instance, also some Georgia Southern coaches about how everybody's dealing with COVID-19. I'm the voice of the Eagles, Danny Reed, and since it's a volleyball edition and we've got 3 people on the call, this is the bump, set, spike edition of Eagles in Their Nest. We've got Baylor Bumford with us. We've got head coach Chad Willis. Chad, I'll begin with you as somebody who is trying to keep his players in class from an online standpoint and also get ready for what could be a season in the fall. What is this like from your perspective?
Well, first things first, Danny, that intro, you nailed it. So can't get any better than that. Clearly not to sound too cliche here, but, we're in uncharted waters. It's been a tough transition, not just for us, but I know a lot of coaches, a lot of student athletes, a lot of administrators and support staff out there. So I would be remiss without, prefacing this with, everybody in Eagle Nation is currently in our thoughts and our prayers. And, we're looking forward to coming out on the other side of this. But specifically for us, it's really just been about staying true to who we are as a program. We talk a lot about pursue excellence. That's sort of our motto. And really what that is just, come in every single day and be the best version of yourself for others. So unfortunately right now, that can't be in Statesboro on campus, in Hanner, in the classroom. We're having to do it virtually, but I'm really proud of our student athletes, proud of our team, proud of people like Baylor who on our leadership group who continue to communicate and set the expectations, set the bar high for, doing the things that we're asking them to do, whether it be academics, leadership, community service and outreach, and trying their best to stay in shape and get some touches on the ball. So it's been a process, but they've handled it really well.
Baylor, is somebody who's part of that leadership group and somebody that's still relatively new to Eagle Nation, having just transferred in from UNC Wilmington. You just played your first year inside Hanner Fieldhouse. But what is it like now, not being able to be up close with your coaches and your teammates and having to do everything online?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different just from, I think, like a lot from the coaching perspective to us. Like, we're so used to having such a, we literally just walk into their office so easily and talk to them about whatever we need. And it's kind of hard to not have that environment anymore. But honestly, we've done so much with the Zoom and everything. We talk about, I probably talk with Chad about 4 times a week or something like that. And I mean, the girls, we talk every single day almost. So with technology now, it's a lot better, but it's definitely hard not being near them. But we're doing everything that we can to make it as normal as possible. And I think we've done a good job doing that.
Chad, when you're trying to run a meeting in a locker room as opposed to doing it over Zoom, what are some of the hurdles that you have to clear in regards to that?
Well, I think attention to detail is, probably one of the big things there. I as we've been doing this more, the thing that I keep thinking of is, and I'm guilty of this as anybody else. And Danny, you can probably attest to doing these Zoom meetings. It's easy in a large group to kind of get lost, to get swallowed up in the moment of what's happening, as opposed to being in person and trying to pay attention there. So, that's probably been the hardest part, is to keep everybody engaged, interactive. One of the things that we try to do as a staff to alleviate some of that is create some what I call subgroups within our support staff, just to regularly check in on our student athletes, whether it be from a strength and conditioning side, sports medicine side, academics, anything they have going on in their social lives. So it's not just me, running a meeting and them listening to me, kind of talk to them for 45 minutes to an hour.
Sure.
Every week they've got somebody different that they're talking to, engaged with, trying to check in on them.
Baylor, you're back in your home state of Florida trying to deal with everything. And from what we understand, media-wise, Florida is one of the areas that's really been hit hard by COVID-19. What are some of the conversations that you've heard and some of the things that you've seen regarding just how it's been down there?
Well, it's really affected just basically going and doing regular things. We don't really go to any stores anymore or anything like that. I'm trying to thank God the weather is beautiful here and it's really warm. So we've been taking advantage of that and going outside a lot. But they're telling people to not even go outside without masks anymore. And so it's just really different trying to get used to it. But I'm hoping that the peak will reach soon, and so we can get back to Statesboro.
How does a volleyball player stay in shape?
I mean, there's a lot of ways to get creative with it, I guess. They actually, our coaches and support staff put together a really good program of like, we have a volleyball circuit every day, and then a body weight circuit, and then a strength circuit, and then basically I do, and then a lot of the girls too do extra conditioning on top of that, just to try to, I mean, honestly, I find going out and getting fresh air and going to exercise is like a good break now, instead of at Statesboro when it would be nice to lay down. Now I just want to get out of the house and go do something. So I think a lot of the girls are feeling that way, and like really just going outside and doing anything helps. But I think that the circuits that they put together have been really good, and just getting touches on the ball and everything when you can.
Now, I understand that you've had to use a soccer net to try to get your touches. So describe what that's like.
Yeah, the height is a little off, I think, but I've just been trying my best. But yeah, I've tried jumping in the sand to try to help with just getting my vertical up. And yeah, the soccer net is probably not the most ideal thing, but I mean, it's something to reach for. So that's helped me a little bit.
Chad, you've been in it for about 20 years. I would think that you've found some creative ways to train and to keep yourself in shape.
Yeah, you know, I've told a lot of people this. You know, 6 months ago, you know, I was probably guilty of being those ones looking at all those people on Instagram, you know, posting their self workouts, going, man, you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? To now going, you know, maybe they were onto something pretty early on, and I should have gotten into it a little bit sooner. But here's the thing, Danny. You know, like you can be as creative as you want in terms of putting workouts together, finding ways to provide resources for your student athletes to get touches on the ball, you know, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a culture in place, you know, you don't have the group that's willing to commit themselves to putting in the time and doing those things, it doesn't matter what you come up with. You know, so we as a staff, we try to be pretty proactive before everything came down the pipe. And, you know, we went over to Hannah and my assistant Ian, myself, we put some videos together for them in terms of a training routine, and we got together with Taylor and Abby and kind of put this workout together that we felt like, okay, if we send everybody home with the ball, here's something that you can do every single day, or, you know, 4 to 5 times a week, just to keep a touch on the ball. And I think for sanity purposes too, Baylor can probably attest to that, you know, after being about what are we going on 3 weeks in, yeah. You know, everybody I think at this point is ready to be back here, but, you know, at least there's something they can be doing.
Baylor, you finished 7th in the Sun Belt last year in hitting percentage. You set the school record for single-game blocks against Troy in a great match that saw Georgia Southern beat a team that was 12-2 going to that point. But from a culture standpoint, going into next season, where do you feel the team is at?
I think we've probably made the biggest jump that I've ever seen in a team that I've ever been on. And I think it's like been almost a complete 180 since the time I got here and what sounded like before I got here. And this spring, it really, I think, set into gear. And I mean, like, we have conversations about it every day, and it's not just coming from the coaches anymore. Like, the girls have bought in, and like, we've put so much time into it and so much time into conversations and relationships and everything. And I think that we've finally like broken down some walls that we needed to. And I think we're at the best place that we can be with the circumstances right now going into fall.
All right. I know that there's a unique story regarding the two of you about the time that, Chad, you spent, of course, 6 years at Appalachian State. Baylor, you were initially recruited to go up there, but you ended up at UNC Wilmington, and now, of course, you're together in Statesboro. I want the horse's mouth first. So, Coach, how did this start? Put us back in this situation from a couple years ago.
So, going back to club, you know, Baylor was somebody that we identified when I was at App pretty early on. You know, she played for a really well-known and competitive and what I would consider one of the top clubs in the country out of Orlando, Florida at the time, and played for some really outstanding high school and club coaches who we had a lot of personal relationships with. You know, so we were on her radar pretty early. I like to think. And, you know, I can still remember Baylor and Dana, her mom, coming up for the visit, and so much personality, so much energy. You know, she was from Florida, and you know, we kind of had this thing at the time, being at App, that you know we could pull Florida kids because you know they were tired of the year-round heat and all that good stuff. So we felt like we had a pretty good shot at Baylor. I think Baylor's personality fits in well with clearly what we were looking for at the time. And then, you know, unfortunately, she decided to, well, I guess fortunately now, but unfortunately at the time, you know, she decided to make her decision to go to Wilmington. She wanted the beach, and, you know, we respected that, and, you know, wished her all the best. And then clearly things kind of evolved from there. We get the job, and we're down in Statesboro. Taylor and I, Taylor is our recruiting coordinator, you know, start of February. And I remember that first week we're in the office, you know, Baylor's name pops up on the transfer portal, and I yell out, you know, into our suite. I'm like, Taylor! I'm like, you'll never believe who's on the portal. And she's like, is it Baylor? And I'm like, it's Bumford. So immediately Taylor shoots Baylor a text. And I think within 3 days, like I hadn't even had a conversation with Baylor on the phone, and she was already applying to Georgia Southern, looking at the honors program. And it was just, you know, one of those things where, you know, fortunately for us, you know, you talk a lot about schools and programs, but at the end of the day, it really boils down to relationships. And, you know, we were fortunate through that recruiting process, even though we didn't land her, you know, we established a pretty good rapport with her and her family, and it was a no-brainer.
Baylor, how do you remember that all going down?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds a lot like that, but I loved, like, it was a very hard decision between App and Wilmington. Obviously, I loved the coaching staff, but unlike most people from Florida, I do not look forward to the cold. that was definitely the big no for me. I couldn't do the cold, so I would definitely remember the visit there when we were outside and I was freezing my butt off, and Taylor looked at us and she's like, it's a beautiful day today. I cannot do this every day. So, yeah, but I mean, as soon as I, you know, coaches, like being close to my coaches and coach to player relationship has always been like top of my list for wherever I wanted to go. Like, and even in club and high school, like it was very, very important to me. Like I learned the most and learned the best, like from people that I had good relationships with. And so really when I got to the portal, like I knew what I was looking for. I was like, I need a coach that I can trust, that I know that I can talk to and be honest with, and it's going to be honest with me. And I already knew that I could trust Chad and Taylor and E. And so it was kind of a no-brainer. And when I still remember when we were sitting in the coach's office, and I hadn't really even talked to my parents about what I was thinking, but I mean, obviously they loved everybody. And we were sitting there and I was just like, yeah, I'm coming. And I just remember both my parents like, okay, yep, sounds good. That's what happened.
How did the expectations meet up with the reality that you're still experiencing here in Statesboro?
I mean, Chad is very straightforward from the start. You know what you're getting when you come here. There's no fluff really in the recruiting process. And I think that's been very important because there were definitely other schools that you could just feel that it just wasn't genuine when you're getting recruited versus like what the players say are actually like day-to-day basis on the team. And everyone I heard from, you know, told me how great it was and everything. And I trusted the coaches, and I got here, and I mean, if anything, it's even better than I expected. And, you know, he promised me that we were turning the culture around and that we were going to, you know, take it and run with it. And we've done exactly that. So,
Chad, it's clear that you have positive relationships with your players. But right now, when everything's being done like what we're doing now, whether it's Zoom, whether it's Blue Jeans, whether it's something like that, how can you build and then maintain relationships when you can't be in front of people?
Yeah, you know, I think that's hard. And I think, you know, fortunately, you know, I look at our situation, and, you know, the one thing I think where it's really paid dividends for us is, you know, there's a lot of trust on the front end that was built and the first 6 weeks of spring that we had when everybody got back from the fall. A lot of tough conversations, but really good conversations. Just about, you know, where we were as a program and the vision and our mission and the things that we're going to be about. And, one of the things that I constantly, try and preach to our team, for lack of better terms, is, be real, be open, be honest, be genuine in everything that you do. Because volleyball, even though it's the most time consuming thing that they do, it's the smallest thing they'll do in the grand scheme of things. So, a lot of the conversations that we have, are not just about sport, but are about, academics and making sure, that's a priority, and leadership and service. And, the one thing that, I always say is, right now society, is going to measure people like Baylor and her teammates. They're going to measure them on stats and wins and losses and grades, but life's going to measure you on leadership and the impact that you make on others. So, that's something that, we're really trying to instill in them. And so I think when they left, being open and being honest about what we were about to face, Baylor can probably let you know, like, we sat in the locker room the Friday morning, this all went down, and I looked at him, I said, guys, I don't know what to tell you. Like, worst case scenario, we don't see you again until August. And if that's the case, here's what we need to remember. We remember our process, remember our cornerstones, remember that, every single day we got to pursue excellence. And, the last thing I kind of left them with is, I love you. We love each and every one of you, and that's not going to change. And, we'll come out on the other side of this and be better because of it.
Baylor, I'll close out with one more question for you. When that meeting occurred and you knew that you probably weren't going to see your teammates until at least the fall, and having gone through it for 3 weeks to a month so far, what have you learned about yourself?
I think that was a good question.
You got her, Danny. You stumped her.
I mean, honestly, in that meeting, I think we were all in disbelief. I did not think that I was coming home until August. I was like, oh, there's no way. Like, I'm coming back in like 3 weeks or so. And so I think when we finally got the word, like, you're not coming back, like, there isn't going to be no summer, I think it was more just like, it was almost like more drive. Like, it was like, okay, well, it's go time now. Like, there's no more slacking. There's no like, oh, I'll just take a break for a week or whatever. Like, there's no time for that anymore. And there's even less time now that we can't be together. So it was almost like, it was like a kick in the rear, basically. It was like, you can't be together, so you're going to have to find a way to better yourself and better your teammates without, being around them and being able to push them, like, by being near them and by being with them in practice. And so basically, I think we just kicked up the communication, and, we have a lot of accountability in place. And so I think we just learned that we have it in us to be good and to come back better than we were in the spring, even with tougher circumstances.
Well, I sincerely hope that we get a chance to get back to sports sometime here very soon. I'm going to be at some volleyball matches. And Chad, if you can set it up, I will call a volleyball match this year. If
we're making it happen, man. We're making it happen.
If we could work it out with multimedia development, I'll call a volleyball match. But I'm probably going to need to talk to you about some of the finer points of it.
That's right. I'm sending the email as soon as we get off here.
Chad Willis, Baylor Bumford, thank you both for your time. Stay safe, stay healthy, and GATA, okay?
All right. Thanks, Danny. Hail Southern.
Eagle Nation, we'll catch you next time on Eagles in Their Nest.